Welcome to Elevated, a place where the mystical meets the everyday. I am Dawn, a stay-at-home mom to a wild and spirited boy, and a guide in the realms of Reiki, Akashic Records, natural healing, and soulful living. Here, we'll talk energy, intuition, spirituality, but also the realness of motherhood, wellness, and creating balance in the chaos of it all. So grab your tea, take a deep breath, and join me as we explore healing, alignment, and the beauty of both the magical and the messy. Welcome to Elevated. Welcome, beautiful souls, to Elevated. How are you doing today? I am doing so well. I have had a good day. A hard week, though, I would say. My little guy did end up getting sick, not gonna lie. And then I ended up getting sick. And it was one of those sicknesses. It was a cold, really, all that I had. But that annoying cold, where your nose just keeps running and running and running. And you're using box of Kleenex after what seems like box of Kleenex. It was horrible, that part. I just don't really like my nose running. Everything else was okay. I was super tired for one day, and it seemed like the busiest day of my whole week, and I had the least amount of sleep too, so it didn't help. And then my little guy decided this was the week that we were thinking about stopping naps. He did really well. I will have to give him credit for that. We worked on doing quiet time in his room, and he did so well. There was one day where he actually ended up hanging out in his room by himself for 2 hours, playing, maybe not being extremely quiet, but he wasn't like yelling or anything. He wasn't crying. He wasn't upset. He just had a really good time by himself independently. Now, he is not an only child, but is an only child. I have a 26-year-old stepson who no longer lives in our house. Yes, he's not an only child, but he is the only child that is in this house, obviously at 26. My stepson is starting his own family. Should be a couple weeks now, maybe. They're due February 9th, so we'll see if they make due date before or after. We don't know. It's so exciting right now. But yes, my son basically is an only child in the sense that there is no one else to entertain him but mom and dad. And let me tell you, mom and dad entertain him. And it's been like that since he has been born. So for him to play independently without me having to be in eyesight was amazing. I felt so calm. I was just in my office doing a puzzle, listening to my Akashic Records class and learning. And I was like, this is bliss, absolute bliss. Then I lucked out the next day. He had a nap too. So is he fully done naps? I don't know, but there for a few days he was done nap. So we'll see how it goes type of thing. But yes, I ended up getting sick with a cold. Still kind of have it. You might notice it. I might be talking a little bit funny. I might be taking breaths a little bit differently, but that's okay. Other than that, what happened this week? Oh, we're in a massive deep freeze right now in the province of Saskatchewan. Like minus 39 before the wind chill. Yeah, let me tell you how fun that is. We haven't actually had extreme cold weather like this for a super long time, and definitely not this year. Let's entertain a toddler that can't go outside. And of course, it's sunny out. And what does he think? It's nice out if the sun is out. And I agree with him. It should be nice out if the sun is out, but it's not. Needless to say, you're like, no, you cannot go snowmobiling. And then he's kind of getting upset because he wants to go snowmobiling. It's like, it is minus 39 before a wind chill. So then you have the wind chill on top of that. Anyways, long story short, everything's good. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? In my last podcast, I did say that I wanted to talk about Imbolc. What is Imbolc? Before we talk about dates and the history and the rituals of Imbolc, I want to invite you into a feeling. Picture winter at its deepest. The world is quiet. Trees stand bare and patient. The earth feels asleep, but not dead. It's simply resting. Can you picture that? Yeah. For me, it's like, just look outside. That's what's happening right now. But the nights are still long. And even though the days are technically growing brighter, the cold reminds us that spring is not here. Yeah, that's this week for sure. Spring is not here. Now imagine our ancestors standing in the same moment of the year, thousands of years ago. no electric lights, no weather apps, no grocery stores, only fire, animals, and faith in the land. This is where Imbolc lives. Imbolc is not a celebration of arrival, it's a celebration of trust. Trust that the light is returning. Trust that life is stirring beneath the frozen soil. Trust that what has been endured has meaning. As you listen today, imagine that we are sitting together near a hearth. A single candle burns. Outside, winter still rules, but something has shifted. That shift is Imbolc. Imbolc is one of 8 sacred festivals of the Wheel of the Year, traditionally celebrated around February 1st, February 2nd. If you're North America, what do we do February 2nd? But it's exactly halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. This midpoint matters. Ancient people understood that transformation does not happen all at once. There are thresholds, moments when energy changes before form does. The name Imbolc is believed to come from the Old Irish Imbolg, meaning in the belly. This phrase alone tells us almost everything we need to know. Nothing has broken the surface yet, no flowers, no leaves, no obvious signs of growth, but life is forming. Seeds are swelling beneath the soil, animals are pregnant, the future is quietly preparing itself. Imbolc teaches us to honor beings that are invisible. To truly understand Imbolc, we must understand how our ancestors lived. The ancient Celtics were deeply seasonal people. Their spirituality was inseparable from daily survival. The land was not symbolic. It was life itself. Winter was dangerous. Food stores ran low. Illness spread easily. Colds claimed lives. Every day survived was a small victory. By the time Imbolc arrived, communities had endured months of darkness and scarcity, fatigue, physical, emotional, spiritual. It was common. And then something changed. The ewes began to lactate. Milk returned. This was not a small thing. Milk meant nourishment. It meant infants could survive. It meant the land was still providing. Imbolc became a sacred pause, a moment to acknowledge survival, to give thanks, and to prepare for what would come next. At the heart of Imbolc stands Brigid. Brigid is not a distant deity. She is intimate, present, found in the hearth fire of the healing waters, the spark of gravity, and the warmth of compassion. She is a goddess of fire and inspiration, water and healing, poetry and creativity, fertility and protection, smithcraft and transformation. Fire and water are 2 forces that seem opposite, yet are both necessary for life. Brigid represents the sacred spark, the moment when something new begins. When Christianity spread through Celtic lands, Brigid transformed rather than vanished. She became Saint Brigid of Kildare, still associated with healing, charity, and an internal flame tended by women. This blessing reveals how deeply Imbolc and Brigid were woven into the cultural soul. Imbolc exists because humans need hope, especially quiet hope. This is the time of year when many people feel depleted. Seasonal depression peaks, motivation feels distant, the excitement of the new year has faded, but spring still feels far away. Imbolc does not demand change. It simply offers reassurance. It reminds us that growth begins in darkness, that rest is productive, that preparation is sacred. Imbolc rituals were woven into daily life. Candles were lit to honor the returning sun. Homes were cleaned, not symbolically, but out of necessity. Stagnant air and clutter could invite illness. Brigid's crosses were woven from straw or reed that hung for protection. Brigid dolls were created and welcomed in the home as a symbol of fertility and blessing. Sacred wells were visited, offerings were made, healing was sought. These rituals grounded spiritual hope into tangible action. Food at Imbolc was humble and holy. Milk, butter, cheese, oats, and bread. These foods represented nourishment, continuity, and gratitude. Eating together at Imbolc was an act of faith, a declaration that the land would continue to provide. Imbolc was also a time of divination. People watched the weather carefully. A bright, clear day suggested winter was not finished. A stormy day meant winter was releasing its grip. Animals were observed. The land was consulted. Nature spoke. People listened. Groundhog Day. Remember, we talked about February 2nd? So in North America, we have Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day is Imbolc, even if we no longer call it that. In Europe, people watched badgers or snakes. In North America, the groundhog took their place. Different animals, same question. Is winter almost over? This tradition survives because it fulfills an ancient need, reassurance that change is coming. We still celebrate Imbolc, often without realizing it. Spring cleaning, setting intentions, buying seeds, reorganizing our home, self-care resets, lighting candles. Each Valentine's Day echoes Imbolc themes of fertility, love, and connection. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Modern Imbolc does not need to be elaborate. Light a candle, clean one space, journal a quiet intention, spend time outdoors, honor creativity, work with energy healing. Imbolc asks for attentiveness, not perfection. Light a candle and look into it and reflect. What is stirring beneath the surface of your life? What needs patience rather than pressure? Where can you offer yourself more light? Imbolc reminds us growth is happening even when we cannot see it. I always thought that Imbolc would have such big rituals with it and not realizing something as simple as spring cleaning my house, which I feel like after Christmas, so many people do that simply because you're just trying to get rid of like the Christmas clutter. I know for me, I always go through our closets at this time of year. I'm really working on decluttering extra clothing that my son no longer fits, but didn't really realize like Groundhog Day was Imbolc or Valentine's Day. I didn't even realize Valentine's Day was, but it is. It's calling in fertility. It's calling in love. It would be a quieter ritual for Imbolc. So if you did want to do an actual Imbolc ritual, you could do this one. It is a ritual that is designed for modern life. It's simple, it's flexible, and deeply meaningful. It can be done alone or with family, quietly or ceremonially, indoors or outdoors. I will probably include my son and my husband. Sometimes my husband, I swear, he just like shakes his head, rolls his eyes. He's like, oh my goodness. But my son absolutely loves doing this kind of stuff. What you are going to need, and use what you have, okay? There's a lady on TikTok, and I absolutely love her. She's from the Maritimes, and her saying is use what you have. Like, don't buy anything. Just use what you have around the house, because in true Imbolc style, that's what they would have done. One white or yellow tea light candle is perfect. A small bowl of water, a small bowl of salt, or earth if preferred. So if you have some dirt, you could use that, I guess. Grass, something like that. Something symbolic of growth. So a seed, a crystal, a piece of jewelry, a written intention. Optional, you can use milk, tea, or a warm drink. Imbolc is not about perfection or elaborate tools. It's about presence. That's what we need. Now, step 1, what you're going to do is begin by gently cleaning the space where you'll sit. This can be as simple as clearing a table, wiping a surface, or tidying one small area. As you do this, say aloud or silently, I clear what is heavy, stagnant, and no longer needed. I make space for new light. This mirrors the ancient Imbolc tradition of home cleaning, both practical and energetic. Step number 2, sit comfortably. Place the bowl of salt or earth in front of you. Place one hand over your heart and one on your belly. Take 3 slow breaths. Feel your body supported. Feel yourself here. This is the energy of Imbolc. Gentle arrival, not urgency. Step number 3, light your candle. As you do, speak. I welcome the returning light. I honor the spark of life stirring within and around me. Spend a moment simply watching the flame. This candle represents the growing sun, the hearth fires, and the quiet hope of the season. Step 4. Dip your fingers into the water and lightly touch your forehead or hands. Say, I cleanse what weighs me down, then touch the salt or earth. I ground myself in patience, trust, and steady growth. This honors Imbolc's theme of perfection and preparation. If it resonates with you, gently acknowledge Brigid, goddess or saint, symbol or archetype. Say, Brigid, of flame and well, of hearth and healing, be welcome here. Inspire what is ready to be born. If Brigid does not align with your path, simply call in wisdom, creativity, and inner fire. Hold your seed or symbolic object. Ask yourself, what is quietly forming in my life? What do I want to nurture, not force? Speak one intention out loud. Keep it simple. Example, I nurture my creativity. I welcome healing. I trust the timing of my life. Place the object near the candle. Remember, Imbolc intentions are seeds, not goals. Then we're going to do a step 7, which is closing with gratitude. And you're going to lift your warm drink or place your hands over your heart and say, thank you for the light returning, for what is stirring, and for what will grow in time. Take a sip slowly. When the ritual feels complete, extinguish the candle gently, and over the next few weeks, light a candle often. Clean one small space at a time. Check in with your intention, and be patient with yourself. Imbolc teaches us that slow growth is still growth. May this ritual remind you that even in the quietest season, life is awakening. And isn't it true when you truly look at what happens in spring? Like, so many farmers breed their cattle to start around in February, March to produce calves. We've already gotten our catalog from the hatchery regarding getting laying chickens or meat chickens or turkeys or pheasant. My friend's mom just got, was it 32 pheasant? Maybe more than that. I don't know. A ton of little baby pheasants already. And it's the end of January. So spring is coming. Spring fever of the animals, the goats as well. If you were to breed goats, this would be the time of year where calves are going to start to be born. There's a lot of births as well, just from people that I know having babies around this time as well, without even really meaning to. It's not like they consciously were like, during Imbolc next year of 2026, I'm going to have a baby, but it's the way that the world is showing us and saying, okay, this is happening. There is renewal. There is new life coming. And it is hard in the dead of winter. And you're wishing and you're hoping and you're wondering when spring is going to come. And you know that you've already had winter since the end of October. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, it can't come fast enough. And you know it could be like middle of April and you still have snow. Maybe the beginning of May it starts melting. Maybe you could start seeing the grass in May. I'm telling you, middle of January, you're like, how much more winter do we have? Imbolc is needed. It is needed to help with the seasonal depression that happens, especially because where we live with snow and dead trees and not a lot of movement, and a lot of people find winter very hard. In my case, when I was at the office, there were so many people that were like, I just hate winter. When's winter over? I just hate winter. And I get it. If you have nothing to look forward to in the months of October to basically the end of April. So how many months is that? That's 7 months. You're going to hate it. That's over half the year. I get it. I understand. You're going to hate winter. I say this all the time. If you live in places that has snow, you need to find outdoor activities to do. You need to find something that makes you excited for the weekend. Something where you're like, yes, I can go ice fishing because that's what you're into. Or yes, I can go snowmobiling, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, just downhill skiing if you can. Like anything to get you outdoors. Anything. I think having animals is one of the greatest blessings as well. Yes, I get they are work. Yes, they are costly. I understand that. But at the end of the day, they still get you outside. and you're like, oh, it's not so bad. Whereas if you didn't have them, you'd be like, oh, look at the wind. Ugh, look at the snow blowing. I don't want to go outside. And then you would stay indoors. So finding something to get you outdoors, to enjoy the weather as best as you can is my suggestion to try and get through winter. And I know it's easier said than done. I understand. But when you live in a place where we have 7 months of winter, you need something. It's funny, my son and I and my husband, we've been watching Alaska, The Last Frontier again. I'm telling you, I love that show. The Kilchers came from, I believe it was Sweden, and he settled on 600 acres of land in Alaska, 4 generations that have homesteaded this land. I love it because they're talking about how the middle of winter, one of the Kilchers, it was Otsley, he didn't actually get enough meat for winter. Him and his wife Jane had to go out and they had to go hunting for meats. And then they talk about how they have 8 months of winter and they only have 4 months to do everything that they need to do for summer. I kind of knew what Imbolc was this year going into watching Alaska The Last Frontier. And I was like, they celebrate it too, or they have that ritual, and they do. They have their houses have secondary heat. They do have power there. They're not fully off the grid. So they do have power. And then they supplement that with wood heat and fire. But it's interesting because you're like, yeah, they have a fire going all the time, which is Imbolc, right? Or they're using candles and they're using very little light, that type of thing. It's very interesting to me. If you kind of want to get to know more of the pagan sort of ways, I would say watch Alaska The Last Frontier, because without them even stating that it's pagan or you seeing it, it really is more of a pagan kind of culture, I guess, if you want to say that for lack of better words. I hope that you take the time for Imbolc. I hope that you in some way acknowledge it, in some way set your seeds for the year. So make sure that you take your seeds of intention, I would say, but your seeds and plant what you want for the year. Really sit down and think how do I want my year to go? What am I looking for? And take that slow growth movement. And I'm going to say I am one that very much struggles with slow growth. I don't like it. And I was just saying this to my husband. We constantly have instant gratification when you look at TikToks, social media, all of that. There's anything that you want to find out an answer, you just go to Google and you get it now. You don't have to find the right book at the library to get the answer or find someone that knows the answer, right? We have instant gratification with anything that we want. And so this idea of slowing down and letting growth happen at a slower pace, but still realizing that it's happening and being grateful for it and aware that it's happening and acknowledging that it's happening, it is huge. And that is something I struggle with all the time. It's if it is not happening within the next week, then there's something wrong. And then I kind of sometimes give up because I'm like, oh, well, that didn't work. I didn't give it the time. This podcast is one thing that I definitely know that I do every week. My listeners are not where I would love them to be. My numbers just aren't where I'd love it to be, but it is something that I'm slowly working with. And I'm like, I'm going to get there. And I keep telling myself that every time. And every time I have a listen, I celebrate that. I'm like, yeah, someone listened, and it's exciting for me. It's just planting the seeds and realizing it takes time. It takes 9 months, 10 months, 9 months to grow a baby. And this is exactly what my Akashic Records teacher was saying when I took her Creatrix class. She said, give it 9 months. But it does. It takes a human 40 weeks to grow a human. Look at your crop when you plant your crops. I mean, you got to plant some of those plants now in January so that they're ready to harvest in September. 9 months. Remember, slow progress is still progress. It doesn't happen overnight. And with that, I thank you so very much for being here. I hope you learned a lot today. I had a lot of fun researching Imbolc and the ritual. I am getting a guest on here. I don't know when I will have the podcast up, but I've reached out. They've agreed. That'll be really exciting. I can't wait. I don't want to give it away yet, who it is, but I'm really, really, really excited. And like I said, my goal this year is to get more guests on. that's what I want. I want more guests. I want to learn more from people. And again, you don't have to be in a holistic or wellness umbrella for you to be a guest on my podcast. You can be a parent and be a guest on my podcast. You can just be a person and be a guest on my podcast. It doesn't matter. If you have something that you want to say, if you want to have an elevated conversation about something, definitely reach out. We can do that. I would love to hear from you. Oh, and guys, so exciting. So it's been over a week now. I didn't let you know last week, but slow progression. It finally happened. I have a website. My gosh, the trials and errors and the tribulations in making that website was unbelievable, but I learned a lot. I started doing my website manually. It is up and running. It is elevatedsoulhealing.com. I can't believe I can say that. I don't have it yet where you can kind of Google just elevated soul healing and it automatically comes up. So you do have to put in elevatedsoulhealing.com. But that is my website. I love it. My podcasts go up there automatically. I have all my services on there. So everything that I offer, animal Reiki, child Reiki, distance Reiki healing, Akashic Records is on there, spiritual coaching. Definitely you can go there and check that out. I feel like I completed a task, and it was such a great feeling when it happened because I started this website in October of 2025. It's everything that I created. It wasn't AI that did it, which, to be honest, now that I think about it, I think I would have been disappointed with AI. And this is me. I created it myself, and it's just that feeling even more so of accomplishment. I'm excited about that. I'm also almost done Earth Mystery School. That is basically level 2 of my Akashic. It is amazing. So much information. And I have 2 practice clients already, and I need 1 more practice client. It's been an unbelievably crazy 2 weeks when it comes to everything with the Akashics and my website and the podcast. All that work is now starting to pay off. Imbolc, you guys. Spring, right? The new. I get it. I was in the dark. Now I'm coming out of the dark. I can see the end of the tunnel there. Maybe it was a far reach there. Who knows? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope that you do the ritual. I am actually going to post the ritual in the notes. I think that would be something that would be very beneficial for everyone because sometimes me just reading it is great. But then if you really wanted to do it, you have to listen to it and pause it and write it and pause it and write it. This way, I'll just put in the notes and then you can either read it from the notes or you can even copy and paste it into a Word document and print it from that way. I'll do that for you. I apologize for not doing that before, but I just had that brilliant idea tonight. Coming up, we're going to do a podcast on Chinese New Year. I have a guest coming on. I'm going to try and get some Akashic, some starseed ones. I'm really into that right now. If you want to be a guest, just email me. You can go to my website on the contact me. Have a great week. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. If you like this podcast, send it to your friends. Please subscribe, like, rate, review, do all the things. It helps my podcast grow. It helps every time that you like a podcast and every time you rate the podcast, every time you review the podcast, every time you do any of that and interact with the podcast, it actually pushes my podcast out to other potential listeners. So it'll put me higher up the rank. So if you could do that for me, I truly, truly appreciate that. Beyond anything, I would truly appreciate that. It costs you nothing to do that and it helps me out hugely. So please, like I said, subscribe, rate, review. I appreciate that so very much. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you being here so very much. I love you and I hope that you have a wonderful Imbolc.